The crystal chandelier above the ballroom shattered like my heart when I hurled that champagne flute across the room, shards raining down on tuxedos and gowns like confetti from hell. "Oscar!" I screamed, my voice cracking over the string quartet's frantic halt, every eye in that gilded cage of Manhattan elites snapping to me. The uninvited ghost in ripped jeans and a thrift store blazer. He turned, his face draining of color faster than the Hudson at low tide, and in that split second, I knew. The man I'd loved in secret for 2 years was about to become someone else's forever, unless I burned it all down right here. I crashed a lot of things in my 17 years. Foster homes, high school cliques that smelled rejection from a mile away, even a stolen bike into a bodega wall once. But nothing prepared me for the wreckage of Elias Kane versus the world. My name's Elias, by the way, and if you think bursting into a billionaire's wedding sounds like a rom-com plot, try doing it when the groom's your first love, and the bride's veil is hiding a corporate coup that could ruin thousands of lives. But let's rewind, because this isn't just about the crash. It's about the collision course that started in the rain-slicked streets of Brooklyn, where dreams drown faster than rats in a gutter. It was 2 years ago, the kind of autumn in New York that bites your bones and whispers promises it never keeps. I was 15, fresh off another Foster shuffle. My third that year, dropped like yesterday's trash at a group home in Bed-Stuy. The place reeked of boiled cabbage and broken promises, walls papered with faded posters of Obama, smiling like he could fix us all. I shared a room with 3 other kids, Jamal, who snored like a freight train, Mia, who cried herself to sleep most nights, and Tyler, the golden boy who got adopted before Christmas and left without a backward glance. Me? I was the quiet one, the gay kid who learned early to bury his crushes under layers of sarcasm and stolen library books. Because in foster care, feelings are currency you can't afford to spend. School was my escape, a crumbling public high where the halls echoed with futures getting flushed. I was good at English, too good, maybe, pouring my mess onto paper like it could dam the flood inside. That's how I met Oscar. Not in person, not yet. It started with a contest. Some fancy lit mag run by the New York Public Library, Voices of the Voiceless or whatever bleeding heart title they slapped on it. I wrote this piece about a boy watching stars from a fire escape, dreaming of a hand that wouldn't pull away. It wasn't subtle, rainbow metaphors dripping like cheap dye, but it won. Second place, a crisp $100 and an invite to a reading at the main branch on 5th Avenue. I showed up in my one clean hoodie, sneakers duct-taped at the toes, feeling like a smudge on marble. The room buzzed with kids from private schools, their essays polished like trust funds. And then there was Oscar Hale, 25, heir to Hale Dynamics, the tech conglomerate that built half the surveillance cams watching us peasants. He was the guest judge, slouched in a chair like he owned the oxygen, dark hair tousled just so, green eyes scanning the crowd with that quiet intensity that made your pulse stutter. When he called my name, I froze, thinking it was a prank. "Elias Kane," he read, voice smooth as bourbon. "For fire escape lullaby. Come on up." I stumbled to the podium, palms slick, and read like my life depended on it, because it did. The words tumbled out raw, no filter. The boy in the story, too much me, too much ache for a touch that wouldn't bruise. When I finished, the room was still, then applause cracked like thunder. Oscar's eyes locked on mine, not clapping, just seeing. Later, at the reception, free hors d'oeuvres I shoveled like it was my last meal. He cornered me by the dessert table. "That was brave," he said, handing me a napkin for the chocolate on my chin. Up close, he smelled like cedar and city rain, his smile crooked enough to snag your heart. "Most kids your age write safe. You didn't." I mumbled something dumb about foster life being its own editor, and he laughed, low, real. We talked for an hour. Books, he loved Kerouac, hated Hemingway's machismo. New York, he called Brooklyn the city's soul, Manhattan its mask, and dreams, mine, escape, his, something vague about fixing the family business. He slipped me his card, "In case you need a reader for the next one," and I pocketed it like contraband. That night, back in Bed-Stuy, I texted him, "Thanks for not laughing." His reply lit my phone at 2 a.m. Brave's my favorite flavor. What's next? Ooh. Texts turned to calls to coffee runs where he'd pick me up in a town car that screamed money, but he'd park blocks away so no one clocked the gap. We met in hidden spots. Washington Square Park benches at dawn, the High Line's wild tangles, A diner in Hell's Kitchen where the pancakes were endless and the stares minimal. Oscar was out to his inner circle. Quietly, dangerously, in a world where his father's empire thrived on conservative contracts. But with me, he was free. He'd talk about the pressure. Boardrooms full of suits who saw queerness as a glitch. His dad Victor Hale's iron grip on the company. The whispers that Oscar was soft for pushing ethical AI over endless surveillance. They want me married by 30, he'd say, tracing my knuckles under the table. To consolidate power. Some heiress with a Rolodex longer than her neck.
Idejuca, Maria Robot.
Less drama. But inside it gnawed. I was falling hard stupidly. For this man who could buy my whole block but chose park benches instead. Our first kiss happened on a ferry to Staten Island. The city shrinking behind us like a bad memory. Wind whipped, he pulled me close, lips tasting of salt and secrets. Elias, he whispered. You're the realest thing I've got. It was fireworks and fear, my heart hammering that this was temporary. A rich guy's rebellion. But we built anyway. Late-night study sessions where he'd quiz me on SAT words. Drives to Coney Island for cotton candy confessions. Him teaching me to drive stick in empty lots while I taught him to laugh without armor. By last summer, I was 16, acing classes on his borrowed laptop, dreaming of Columbia on a scholarship he'd nudge along subtly. No outright cash because pride's the one thing foster kids hoard. We were careful. Separate lives, coded texts. Falcon update? For miss you. But the pull tightened. That's when I met Lila Voss, Oscar's fiancée. Announced in the Times like a stock tip. She was 23, blonde ambition in Louboutins, daughter of Voss Media, the kind of merger that birthed MediaTek behemoths. The engagement party pics showed them air-kissing at the Met, her hand on his arm like a claim stake. My phone went dark for days. He said it was optics. A boardroom bargain to block a hostile takeover. It's not real, Elias. Never will be. You're my north. I believed him because I had to. Love's a blindfold you tie yourself. But cracks spiderwebbed. Late calls cut short. Excuses piling like snowdrifts. Then, 3 weeks ago, I found the folder. I'd snuck into his Upper East Side penthouse. Key under the mat, our stupid trust. While he was at a meeting. It was tucked in his desk. Project Eclipse. Blueprints, emails, projections. Hale Dynamics under Victor's shadow was weaponizing AI not for ethics but Eclipse. A surveillance net sold to private prisons, ICE facilities tracking undesirables with facial rec that profiled by race, orientation, income. Oscar's signature looped at the bottom of the approval memo. Dated the day after our last kiss. Betrayal hit like a gut punch. He'd sold out or been forced to greenlight a machine that would cage kids like me forever. I confronted him in Prospect Park. Rain lashing us like judgment. I shoved the printouts at him, voice breaking. This is your fix? Prisons for people like us. His face crumpled, hands shaking as he grabbed my shoulders. Dad's ultimatum, sign or he tanks the ethical division, fires everyone, including the team pushing queer rights tech. The wedding seals it. Voss pulls strings to bury Eclipse in red tape. Lies or truth? His eyes begged belief, but the memo burned. I love you, Elias. This ends it all. We fought words weapons. My accusations of cowardice, his pleas of chess moves in a rigged game. I stormed off, soaked and shattered, vowing silence. But silence is for the safe. I was done hiding. The wedding was today, November 29th, crisp fall turning to winter bite. At the Plaza, fairy tale venue for a farce. I spent the night before in the group home, staring at the ceiling. Jamal's snores a dirge. By dawn, resolve hardened. Crash it, expose Eclipse, free Oscar or lose him trying. I printed the docs at the library, stuffed them in an envelope sealed with my heart's wax. Subways blurred by. Brooklyn to Midtown, a gauntlet of doubts. What if security tossed me? What if he denied it all? But love's a reckless engine. It revved me through the gilded doors. The ballroom swam in gold and white. Chandeliers dripping like molten wealth. Tables groaning under caviar and champagne towers that mocked my empty pockets. 300 guests. Senators and cummerbunds, tech bros with Rolex grins, socialites whose Instagram feeds birth trends. Lila Voss glowed in ivory silk, veil a halo of hypocrisy, laughing at toasts that painted her and Oscar as destiny's darlings. And there he was, my Oscar, Tux hugging his frame like a second skin. Smile practiced but eyes haunted, scanning the crowd until they snagged on me. Time fractured. Whispers rippled, security goons and earpieces converging like sharks.
Oscar Hale.
I bellowed, vaulting a velvet rope, envelope clutched like a grenade. The quartet screeched to silence, forks clinking to a halt. Lila's hand flew to her pearls. Victor Hale, stone-faced at the head table, leaned forward like a predator scenting blood. Oscar's flute slipped, shattering on marble, champagne fizzing like my rage. You think this circus fools anyone? Project Eclipse isn't a merger. It's a noose. Gasps cascaded, phones whipping out like pistols. Security grabbed my arms, meaty hands vice-tight, but I twisted free, lunging for the mic stand. Read it. I thrust the envelope at the nearest waiter, who fumbled it like poison. Paper spilled. Memos, blueprints, Oscar's scrawled approved glaring under the lights. Hale Dynamics' new toy, AI that flags queers, immigrants, the poor. Prisons overflowing, rights evaporating, all for profit. And you? I jabbed a finger at Victor, then Lila. You're the architects. Voss Media spins the cover. Hale builds the cage. Chaos erupted. Chairs scraping. A socialite fainting into caviar. Victor rising like a thunderhead. This boy's deranged. Security. But Oscar vaulted the dais, shoving past groomsmen, his face a war of fury and fear. Elias, stop. He snatched the mic, voice booming, but I yanked it back, our fingers brushing electric in the storm. Tell them, Oscar. The wedding's the seal, your signature trades love for leverage. But I won't let you drown in it. The room teetered on riot's edge. Allies murmuring, enemies circling. Lila's veil slipped, revealing eyes like chipped ice. You little shit, she hissed, low enough for mics to miss, but I caught it. Venom from a woman who'd whispered queer slurs in society pages. Victor barked orders, but a journalist in the back, gray suit, hungry notepad, shouted, Hale, comment on Eclipse? Phones live-streamed. The crash was viral before the shards settled. Oscar wrestled the mic away gently, his free hand cupping my jaw, thumb brushing a tear I hadn't felt fall. Listen, he said, not to the crowd, but me, voice raw, amplified for all. Elias is right. Eclipse is my father's poison, a deal to weaponize fear. The wedding, a chain to bind me silent. Murmurs swelled to waves. Lila blanched, clutching her bouquet like a shield. Victor's face purpled. Son, you're ruining everything. Oscar cut him off, turning to the sea of stunned faces. Or saving it. Dad, you forced my hand. Ethical teams gutted, my life's work torched unless I played groom. But Elias. He looked at me, green eyes fierce, the boy from the park peeking through the air. He reminded me what bravery costs. Eclipse dies tonight. I resign. The board can choke on their mergers. Bedlam. Cheers from unexpected corners. Queer activists I'd spotted in the fringes, ethical techies with clenched jaws, clashing with Victor's roar, you'll be penniless. Lila stormed the stage, veil trailing like surrender, slapping Oscar's cheek with a crack that echoed. You promised, she spat, but he didn't flinch, just caught her wrist soft. I promised a deal, Lila, not my soul. Walk away before the feds knock. She did, heels clicking fury down the aisle, guests parting like the Red Sea. Security hesitated, cameras rolling, the tide turning, and released me. Oscar pulled me close, mic forgotten, forehead to mine in the spotlight's glare. You came, he whispered, breath ragged. My brave fool. The room blurred. His lips brushed my temple, chaste but seismic, a vow amid the ruins. Sirens wailed distant. Cops or press? Who cared? As Victor fled with his entourage, the empire cracking live on TikTok. But crashes echo. The fallout hit like aftershocks. We slipped out a side door into the plaza's labyrinth. Oscar's arm my anchor, pulse sinking in the chaos. Paparazzi swarmed the curb, flashes popping like gunfire. But his driver, loyal Marco, who'd winked at our secrets, gunned the Bentley through. Brooklyn, Oscar asked, voice hoarse. I nodded, numb. The envelope's weight gone but the ache lingering. Home. Whatever's left. The drive blurred. Bridges arching over black water. City lights smearing like tears. He held my hand, silent, thumb tracing scars from old fights. Foster kid badges. I should have told you, he finally said, staring at the skyline. The memo? Forged leverage. I signed a kill order last week. Buried it pending the wedding's collapse. Truth or bomb? My gut twisted betrayal's ghost. But his eyes, unarmored, begged trust. I love you, Elias. Not as a phase. As my equal. We pulled up to the group home at midnight. Its stoop a far cry from ballrooms. Lights flickered in windows. Jamal probably snoring through the drama trending worldwide. I hesitated, key in hand. They'll crucify you. Hailstocks tanking as we speak. He shrugged, that crooked smile flickering. Worth it. For this. He kissed me then. Proper, under sodium lamps, tasting of champagne and courage. Not passion's blaze, but home's quiet fire. Stay? I murmured, but he shook his head. Tomorrow. After the storm. He left, taillights fading into the night, and I climbed the stairs, body buzzing, soul scraped raw. The house stirred. Mia peeking from her door, eyes wide. You're on the news, Eli. Like, everywhere. I collapsed on my bunk, phone exploding. Texts from unknown numbers. Activists? Threats. Jamal's excited babble. Even a library rep congratulating my literary activism. Sleep dodged me. Instead, memories replayed. Our first park bench, his laugh echoing. The fairy's salt kiss. Now this, love forged in exposure. Dawn broke gray, coffee bitter as I scrolled headlines. Hail Air dumps bride. Torpedoes dad's AI empire in wedding bombshell. Victor's statement. Denials. Lawsuits threatened. Clashed with leaks from insiders confirming Eclipse's rot. Oscar went dark. Radio silence that clawed my chest. By noon, a knock rattled the door. Social worker, clipboard stern. Elias, we need to talk. This incident. It's complicated your placement. Foster roulette again. My crash rippling to evict me? Panic surged. But then Marco's Bentley purred at the curb. Oscar emerged, suit rumpled, eyes shadowed but determined. Pack, you're with me. It wasn't that simple. The group home balked rules, paperwork, but Oscar's lawyer a shark in pearls shredded red tape. Temporary guardianship, she cooed, checks fluttering like bribes. By evening, I was in his penthouse. Marble expanse swallowing my duffel. Staring at skyline views that once intimidated. This isn't pity, he said, handing me tea, not champagne. It's partnership. Eclipse is dead. Now we build. We talked till stars pricked the dark. His resignation filed, a new venture sketched. Ethical AI for marginalized voices, starting with queer youth shelters. My role? Co-founder, voice, the kid who crashed the lie. But betrayal's shadow lingered. That night, alone in a guest room bigger than my old life, doubt gnawed. Was this real, or Rebound's gilded cage? I texted him from down the hall. Scared I'll wake up Foster again. His reply. Then I'll crash your dreams till you believe. Laughter bubbled, easing the knot. Love, I learned, isn't fireworks. It's the quiet rebuild after the blast. Weeks blurred into a new rhythm. Mornings with coffee and case law, his fight for my emancipation. Afternoons plotting the startup, evenings on the balcony trading stories. His closeted Ivy League hell, my Foster survival hacks. The wedding wreckage faded. Lila vanished to Europe, Victor's empire hemorrhaging suits from every angle. SCLU, DOJ, even shareholders baying for blood. Oscar testified in closed sessions, his poise cracking only for me. Late nights when he'd pace, whispering, "What if I lose it all?" I'd pull him down, hands in hair. "You already won. Us." Yet conflict brewed subtle. The press hounded, painting me the tragic teen temptress. Headlines twisting our story into tabloid fodder. Protests erupted. Queer rallies chanting my name. Counterpickets from Hale loyalists screaming, "Gold digger." School? Suspended pending review. Classmates demanding hate or hero worship. Isolation crept, but Oscar shielded. Private tutors, a security detail that felt like chains. I hate this. I confessed one night, rain lashing windows. Feels like another mask. He nodded, shadows under eyes. Then we shatter them. Together. The real climax hit not at the altar, but in a fluorescent-lit conference room 3 months later. January's bite seeping through Chicago windows, where the Senate subcommittee grilled Victor Hale like a steak on the spit. Oscar and I flew coach, his nod to normalcy. My first time beyond coasts, nerves jangling like loose change. I was 18 by then. Emancipation granted in a quiet court, his penthouse my address, our lives entwined cautious as new roots. The hearing was public, cameras barred but leaks inevitable. Eclipse's blueprint unfurled on screens, memos damning as scarlet letters, witness after witness. Ex-employees, profiled immigrants, a trans activist snared in beta tests, testifying to the machine's malice. Oscar took the stand first, suit sharp but voice steady, recounting the coercion. My father built an empire on fear. I inherited the blueprint, but not the blindness. Victor glowered from the defense table, jowls quivering, lawyers circling like vultures. Then my turn. The committee chair, a steel-haired senator from Illinois, nodded me forward. Mr. Kane, your role in exposing this innovation. Walk us through. Heart slamming. I gripped the edge, channeling every Foster deposition, every English essay's fire. I was just a kid crashing a wedding. But Eclipse is not tech. It's a trap. For people like me, gay, broke, forgotten. Oscar showed me love doesn't bend to boards. So I didn't either. The room held breath. Victor's eyes bored holes, but I met them, defiant, the boy from Bed-Stuy unbroken. Questions flew. My relationship with Oscar, painted prurient but I owned it clean. Love's not leverage. It's the leak that floods the lie. Applause rippled, subtle, subversive. As I stepped down, Oscar's hand finding mine under the table. Squeeze saying we did this. Victor's cross-exam was brutal. A manipulated minor, seeking fame. But evidence mounted, my envelope the spark that ignited the blaze. By adjournment, Eclipse was DOA. Bills drafted, Hale dynamics splintered, Victor facing indictments that would cage him tighter than his algorithms. Back in New York, spring thawed the city like forgiveness. Our startup, Hale Kane Ethics, I insisted on the hyphen, launched from a Soho loft modest, buzzing with coders who'd walked from the old regime. I enrolled at NYU, scholarship intact, dorm skipped for Oscar's couch. Romance bloomed quiet. Picnics in Central Park, no hiding. His hand in mine on subways, stairs be damned. But humanism's the slow stitch, wounds don't vanish. Victor's trial loomed summer, appeals dragging like ghosts. Oscar visited him in Rikers once, emerging hollow. He called me weak, said you ruined me. I held him that night, no words, just presence, the therapy of touch without demand. Betrayals echo surfaced in fragments. Lila's tell-all podcast, spinning victimhood, hinting Oscar's phase with me was pity porn. Hate mail piled. Slurs scrawled on our door, doxed addresses forcing moves. I faltered. Therapy sessions spilling Foster floods. Am I just the crash dummy? The plot twist. Oscar listened, never defending, just being. Cooking my mom's recipe gumbo from stories I'd shared. Framing my contest ribbon beside his degrees. You're the story, Elias. I'm the lucky reader. The humanistic turn came unscripted. Memorial Day weekend. Coney Island's boardwalk alive with salt and screams. We wandered like tourists. Cotton candy sticky, Ferris wheel creaking. When a kid, maybe 14, approached hesitant. Backpack slung, eyes wide. You're the wedding guy. From the news. I'm gay. And scared. His voice cracked. Oscar knelt, level, sharing his closet scars soft. I added, fear's the real cage, but crashing it? That's freedom. The boy hugged us awkward, bolting with a grin. Seed planted, ripple starting. That night, under boardwalk stars, Oscar proposed not ring but promise.
No mergers, no vals.
Just us. Building, breaking, loving through. Tears stung. I nodded. Yes, but hyphen forever. We kissed to waves crashing, no cameras, just us, raw, real, redeemed. Victor's sentencing hit fall. 10 years, Eclipse's architects scattered. Hale dynamics reborn ethical under new blood. our startup thriving. Apps flagging bias in schools, shelters wired safe. I graduated NYU 2 years on, speech quoting my fire escape boy. Stars don't judge the fall. They light the climb. Oscar in the crowd, green eyes proud, our hands linked post-stage. Now, at 20, I write from our Brooklyn brownstone. Foster ghosts quiet, love's foundation solid. Crashes teach. Not every collision wrecks. Some rebuild worlds. Oscar's beside me, sketching code, our story unwritten but ours. In America's grind, queer hearts beating against machines, we exposed the plan, but more, we exposed ourselves. And in that naked truth, found grace.